In this video, we will cover how to edit and or update 1099 vendor amounts. In our first example, the vendor was configured as a 1099 vendor, but one invoice was not flagged as 1099 and therefore the payment is not listed in our 1099 total. To add this payment to the vendor record, we're going to click on Accounts Payable, AP Vendors, and launch the 1099 inquiry screen. From this screen, as you can see, I will need to enter my tax year for which I'm recording the payment for. I can filter my screen by the vendor that I will be recording this new line and click the Go button to refresh my screen. To add a new line against this vendor, I will click on the grid section and use the insert key on the keyboard to add the next record. As you can see in here, I can assign a new 1099 code if it applies. I can set the month for which I made the payment and enter the payment date. Okay, I can also set the number of payments here. So if I have multiple payments, I can in here enter a lump sum and then just set my number of payments to 5. So my payment here will record any payments made from January through May for these vendors. Once I click out of that line, you will see that my record is inserted and it will be there once I print my 1099 forms. In our second example, our vendor was never configured as a 1099 vendor, and therefore we need to, one, complete the vendor configuration and come to this screen to enter the total payments that we've made throughout the year. To do that, we're going to go into Accounts Payable, AP Vendors, go into the vendor configuration screen, using the Finder, I will select the vendor for which I want to enable 1099 reporting for. And under the Invoicing tab, I will go ahead and set my tax reporting flag to 1099 vendor. I can enter my vendor 1099 tax number, or this could be a Social Security EIN number as well. And notice that I am entering without dashes to avoid any issues for electronic filing. The next step is to assign the type of number it is. So I will select Social Security here. And last but not least, I will use the Finder to select my 1099 code for this vendor. Again, if you select a code here, you can always override it when you are entering invoices or from the 1099 inquiry screen. My next step is to click Save and close my screen. Next, to enter the total amount of payments that I have made throughout the year for this vendor, I will go back to the 1099 inquiry screen. Again, I will enter my tax here, use the Finder to select my vendor, and I will put this vendor in both my to and from and click the Go button. As you can see, there is no records for this vendor. So now I will click on the grid and again select the vendor on the vendor number column, select the code that applies to these payments, enter the month. So if I'm going to set it to December, as that was the last payment that was made, and set my date to December 15th, 2022. And now for number of payments, because this is a vendor that I use on a monthly basis, I will put all my payments in one line. So the number of payments I will enter is 12. and the total payments have been $3,000 for the whole year. Okay, once I click out of that line, that record will be added. And any other 1099s going forward, I can apply from the AP invoice entry screen now that my vendor has been configured as a 1099 vendor.